Welcome to Countdown to Infinity, a Marvel's Avengers podcast. We talk all things Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we've got a new movie this week.
Ooh, do we?
Actually, I said the Marvel Cinematic Universe, more like the Marvels.
Okay.
Podcast. That's right, because this week we're talking the Marvels.
The Marvels. All of them. All three.
The brand new superhero film released just this week. This is our first reaction, spoiler-free reactions episode. We have a much longer episode with the gang that is going to be, talking about all of the spoilery stuff, the after credits scene, all that stuff. Deep dive.
Deep dive.
Not a lot to deep dive on. Well, there is a lot, but
What?
I'm saying this is one of the shortest films
Yes,
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Only 105 minutes, an hour and a half, a tight hour and a half.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
No.
Brie Larson is back as Carol Danvers, or Captain Marvel. Tiana Paris is Monica Rambeau,
Yes.
who we last saw in a little show called WandaVision.
Oh, love.
Receiving her powers by breaking the witch's hex, I guess, that force field. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, an exciting new addition to the films. I mean, especially if we're considering how amazing the Miss Marvel show was. That was a really good time, right?
It was.
Maybe one of our favorites. One of the most fun ones.
Pretty up there.
Yeah. Big week for Zawe Ashton because her partner, Tom Hiddleston,
Oh, yes.
has a finale on Loki, and she is
And
in the
she's
Marvels.
in the Marvels.
As Supremer Dar-Ben.
Yes.
A whole bunch of
Dar-Ben.
other people, including Kamala Khan's whole family.
Yes.
At least from the show is in
What a
this
cameo.
movie. Samuel L. Jackson is back as Nick Fury. Goose the cat is back. There's a little bit of existential stuff going on with them, but and Earth and Saber, but more importantly, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau are switching places and trying to uncover why.
Yes.
Oh, man. A lot to talk about. Again, this is spoiler free. You know what? We didn't even say our names, huh?
Who are you?
My name's Manuel.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Sophia
Oh,
is your name.
my name is Sofia, yes.
What did you think, without spoiling, what did you think of The Marvels?
Woo! Honestly, it was better than what I expected.
Oh, okay.
Better than what I anticipated. And there was a lot more like action, and it was pretty funny, a little emotional. But I think because it wasn't as long, they really balanced it fairly well. And there's a lot of fun surprises along the way that I was not ready for. And that after credit scene, whoa.
Yeah.
That's all I will say about that.
Yeah. Huge. A super fun movie.
Yeah.
I think you're right. You know what? It's a little closer to Guardians than it is any other thing.
Yes.
Partially because a lot of it takes place in the cosmos. And man, what a charismatic young actress the MCU has in Iman Vellani.
Yes.
As
she
Miss Marvel. She steals
carried
a
it.
lot of these scenes.
Yes, she
She's
carried
not
it.
only hilarious, but I think also very much the emotional center and the relationship with her family, of course, which I was happy to learn while watching the film are kind of critical to the movie. You know,
Yes.
they're not left behind. They
No.
are a part of the show.
Yes.
And I enjoyed that a lot. As far as Captain Marvel herself, there is a lot she's dealing with.
There's a
and I
lot.
was happy to know that even though she is somewhat invincible in the MCU, maybe the most powerful superhero in the entire MCU,
Yes.
that there could still be some conflict with that power. And I think maybe some regret, incredible, I would say, introspective stuff going on with Captain Marvel and her relationship with the humans in her life. And I think that was really, really fun to see. But boy, what a movie.
What a movie. And honestly, there was a nice little, I guess you can say like emotional, there was definitely like an emotional connection between the three of them that I was not.
A common bond.
Yes, I wasn't ready for that,
Huge.
but I was really happy to see, because it's more than just like their powers that are connecting them. Like it's much
or Kamala
deeper than
Khan's, kind of insane obsession with Captain Marvel or fan.
Yeah. She's definitely a fangirl for sure.
There's more than that, I think, that connects them.
Yes. Yeah. And so I was really happy to see that.
And there's there's some valuable lessons to learn along the way. Goose is back, and that is really fun.
Yes.
The cat, and I think that I like that they're leaning into the fact that she's one of the hits from the first Captain Marvel movie.
Yes.
I was also really happy to see Nick Fury. The last time we saw him was in Secret Invasion, where it's a much darker, broodier version of Nick Fury.
Yes. But this is the Nick Fury that we know.
Yeah, and I think also kind of with that experience, in his back pocket, because he's a leader in a different way, I think, you know, and not as sinister as he has been in some Avengers film. Remember, he does some things that are questionable in order to keep the Avengers in line.
Yes,
and I think he's a little softer now. Maybe I don't know.
I also was worried that this movie was going to be a little like Quantumania.
Okay.
Like in the sense that like not all of the jokes were hitting, not all of it made sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah.
So like I was worried that it was going to be, just less thrilling and less like it didn't. I think I'm trying to say like it's not one of the movies that doesn't feel like a Marvel's movie, if that makes sense. Like they definitely did not fumble the ball on this.
Yeah.
Like it felt family, it felt light, it felt action packed, and then I liked it.
Yeah, there's some really fun new things too. So I think if you're watching this movie and you're thinking, okay, well, I've seen at this point a lot of Marvel films. There's still so much that's new and fresh.
Yes, that's
albeit there is a sense too that Marvel does have a safety blanket that they like to whip out, particularly towards the end of their movies, that they do again. But it's also, you're visiting new places, you're meeting new people, new types of people, new fun ways to kind of interact with, it's called Saber, and we've seen Saber before, but in all intents and purposes, a different version of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's protecting the Earth. So, learning what their objectives are is fun too, especially with Nick Fury. Although it does make me feel, because the movie is a lot lighter than Secret Invasion, it's kind of like if I was Nick Fury, I would want to get back to Saber too. Because I'm like, this is way less stressful than a ton of Skrulls possibly destroying planet Earth or taking over planet Earth.
Right.
It's a lot more, I would say, fun to be on that damn spaceship in space with Saber protecting.
Out of sight, out of mind. You know what I'm saying?
It's so much nicer there. Everything's much nicer there. We get a lot of, like we talked about before, a lot of travel through space. What did you think about that and the scope of that, and especially while Loki is occurring, and we're also getting a sense of time.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, it felt like something new because of the new phase that we're entering. Like, I hate to compare, but there have been movies in the past that didn't really make a lot of sense, and it's like didn't really particularly match the new phase as much, other than an introduction. I will not say anything else about that. But this felt more connected to characters from the past that we love and care about, and characters from the series. Yeah. Kamala, obviously, and Rambo. And also looking forward and how it, as a whole, contributes to what this next phase is going to be. Because you start to understand the bigger picture. Yeah. For Marvel. Yeah. So what did you think? So you brought up, two characters. It's so hard not to give specifics.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask you this. There's two characters who Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau, who were introduced in the TV shows, and this is specifically talking to some of the people who listen to our pod who maybe didn't watch those shows. I mean, not everyone watched even WandaVision, which was a huge hit. I'm sure not everyone watched that, or not everyone watched Miss Marvel's. How do you think that the movie did, and kind of to set the stage for some of our listeners, if you haven't seen those entire series by hours and hours of TV, how do you think they did introducing them and kind of explaining what they're all about and who they are as people.
I think there's a lot of name repetition that happens.
Yes, you will know their names.
You will
yes.
absolutely know their names. And I think that in the movie they do they have a really clever way of expressing things that have happened in the past with these specific characters.
That recap, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
that recap their entire journey and also explains how they are all connected before the powers, before the series, like way back when we watched movies in the theater all the time.
Yeah.
Like they explain all of it, and it's very quick, but it's thorough, and that's where the emotional ties come into play. And that's when they explain what they're going through now, and why they're going through what they are. Which again, for me, made total sense. And it's not meant to be extremely emotional to where like you're sobbing, but it's to where like you have more empathy for these characters and you're like, oh, okay, cool, like got it.
Did you think that the movie, because we talked at the start of the pod how short it is? It's I believe the shortest MCU movie ever.
Wow.
An hour shorter than and an hour and a half shorter than any Avengers movie. But what did you think about that? Did it move too quick for you? Did it feel brief? Were you wanting a little bit more, or were you kind of satisfied with what we got?
I think it moves quickly, but only because of the writing. Like, it's not necessarily because like they're trying to cram a bunch of things in at one time.
Yeah, they don't try to make it more than
they're not. Yeah, they're not jumping from point to point to point to point to point. Like, no, the writing of the entire story is just short because of what the villain is doing. So that's why you're like, oh, we got to get this show on the road. Like there's a time crunch, but because something is going to happen. It's not necessarily because they're trying to tie a million stories together and it felt rushed. No,
it
that's
doesn't
not
feel
the case
that. Yeah,
at all.
there is an urgency because of just what is happening.
Because of the
so
writing.
It makes sense that it happens that way.
Yeah.
I also think they should make more movies like this. I mean, not to say that they all have to be an hour and a half. I enjoy the super long Avengers Endgame, but it's nice when there's a change of pace. And honestly, this felt very exciting as an MCU movie, and it makes you kind of reminisce about the time when MCU movies were such giant, big events that pushed the narrative forward, but also at least gave you an exciting adventure.
Yeah,
that was worth going to the movies for. And this is, I think, in that vein, and it's an exciting movie to watch. And I implore anyone listening to go watch it. I mean, we're not going to know until the end of the weekend. I hope the word of mouth is fine. I know there's some people who give it some interesting criticism online. But it looks like it may be one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies ever.
I know.
In terms of pre-sales, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like this should be the movie that happens to.
No, and to be fair, like there was a strike going on, and there was like
no one could promote it.
No, like there was I feel like there wasn't even that many like trailers that were out there publicly, like just on the daily or like advertisements or like anything like that. Like it has not been on my radar. And then when I realized like, oh shoot, it's already time.
Yeah.
Like we're in November. Yeah. Now we got to go do it. Like it really did not hit me.
Even before the strike. Okay. I'm going to read off the different release dates for this movie. Are you ready for this? It was supposed to come out July 8th of 2022.
Okay.
Then they pushed it back to November 11th of 2022. Then they pushed it to February 17th of 2023. And then they pushed it to July 28th of 2023.
Yeah.
And it just came out this past week, November 7th. So that also, I think, plays a big part. Not to say that people in this day and age will know when a movie is out, but it does sort of make it difficult to understand the place and time of this film and even just the event of it all. If you move it around 4 or 5 times, people are going to be like, okay, I thought this movie was already out.
Yes. And I think that's what I'm feeling. Like I felt really excited to see this movie when I first heard about it or when I first knew that, oh my gosh, that's a thing. But that excitement kind of wore off,
Yeah.
But that's why I was like, oh my gosh, we need to go watch it because I it has been on my radar for a minute.
Yeah.
And
we have a pod.
And also I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
So it was a great movie.
Well, let's give our final thoughts. Again, this is spoiler free. We have a much longer spoiler full ep coming out soon where we will talk about that mid-credit scene. And, kind of a PSA for y'all. At least for our screening, there wasn't really a big after credit scene.
No.
Right? So, I mean, just say if you want to through the whole thing. There's a mid-credits that's bonkers. And then stick around if you want to hear, there's something a little fun, but not anything really critical to, watch there. But anyways, that's for the big, long pod. But your final thoughts, spoiler-free, on the Marvels.
Marvels is totally worth it. Please go watch it. It is funny. It's action-packed. And yeah, it feels new, even though it's not. These are all characters that we know and love, but they just go on an adventure together, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
So, highly recommend.
It's a fresh, new MCU movie. It has such a good cast of characters. And I'm not just talking about Tiana Paris and Iman Vellani joining Brie Larson on this adventure.
No.
But, Nick Fury, Kamala's whole family, they spend a lot of time together, and that's super fun, too. And you'll like some of the cameos. There's a couple really big ones in this, and I think that's fun to see, and it doesn't overpower the rest of the movie. But it is it's a fun movie to go watch, so you should definitely go watch it in theaters, because there's some big sequences in this, in scale and in scope, and the fighting. We didn't even talk about the action, but too much about the action. But the action sequences are fantastic, especially when you consider that they're moving or changing, switching places the whole time. And they have a lot of good time with that. And those montages are super effective.
Really
so
cool.
You'll really enjoy it. Well, thanks so much for listening to our first reactions. Again, stick around for a much bigger, actually, not just for our spoiler full Marvel's reactions pod, but also our Loki finale. We're going to be talking about that too.
Yes.
So I think the schedule is that's going to come out on Monday. We may do that sooner, who knows? But listen out for that. But Sophia, what else do you have to plug?
Just thank you for supporting us and listening to our voices. We really appreciate it. And please, if you want to take your support even further, feel free to check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/delphinpod, DELFINPOD. And if you want to follow me on any socials, you sure can. Everything's @_simply Sophie, SOFIEE.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening. Listen to all the other Delphin Pod shows. We will be back really soon.
Real soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.